So this is episode 3 of the Ner-a-car engine project. So the objective of this episode is to basically take the whole thing to pieces and work out what we've got. I'm going to take this off. Inside here is the ignition system. I have no idea what's inside here. I've never taken one of these off before. And I'm going to take the cylinder head off, this inlet manifold, the exhaust manifold, take the back of the crankcase off, expose the crank, look at the piston and big end bearings and the crankshaft and see what we have. So first thing to do is to use a bit of penetrating oil and basically squirt penetrating oil on all of these. Will it make any difference? Probably not, but you've got nothing to lose. The last thing you want is any of these shearing off, which would be bad. So I'm just going to give these a good old spray and leave everything to soak. This is all Whitworth, which is the old Whitworth sockets, 1/4" Whitworth. Unfortunately, I have lots of these sockets, etc., because of the Austin project. But so what we'll do now is leave that all to soak and come back later on. So all these nuts and bolts have had a good soak in oil for a few hours. Time to get cracking and see if we can get a few of these bits off. So we've now got the inlet and the exhaust manifolds off, and all of these, it's not got a separate cylinder. The cylinder head and the cylinder block, if you like, are all one, and all the bolts are undone. So it looks like it's got a gasket, may have been sealed for a long time. So I'm going to give it a gentle tap with this hammer. To get less gentle. Not budging. I don't want to get too carried away. Well, it's not budging, so I'm going to have to think about a slightly harder way to hit it. But I don't want to start smashing this with a hammer, because obviously this is all cast. I'm going to damage it. So these are the inlet ports. You can see the piston inside there. It looks quite nice actually. Might be a pleasant surprise. This is all the carbon buildup. Anyway, right. I need to think about it. You don't rush a job like this. This is 100 years old, and the last thing I want to do is smash the hell out of it. So I'll take my time. So I used a block of wood and a big hammer, and I just kept on hitting it up into these, not on the fins, into these bits, and I've managed to break the seal for the gasket. So it's looking like it's coming. This may not have been off for quite some time, possibly even 100 years, who knows. It's coming. Genuinely the first time I pulled this off. And there it is. Bits falling out all over the place. But there's the piston. There's the bore. few scores, but you can see in there, pretty good, pretty good. So this just fell out. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like some kind of gudgeon pin end plug. I can see that the gudgeon pin moves from side to side. These piston rings are pretty cool, aren't they? Never seen anything quite like that before. Look at those. Well, there you go. That's good. Next step is to probably try and... Oh, there's another one on the back. There, look. Next step is probably to try and... That's amazing. It's amazingly good. I'm really pleased about that. Next step is to, I think, probably take this cover off, and probably the conrod may come back. I don't know. We'll see. To be continued. So I've got all these nuts off. I've broken the seal at the top, but it doesn't want to budge at the bottom, so I don't really, I mean, you can ram bits of wood round down there and try and persuade it apart, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put loads of penetrating oil and let it just seep all the way down into the bottom of the crankcase, and just let it, probably just let it fester overnight, to be honest, because I really don't want to damage this. This is, if I break anything, it's irreplaceable, so it's pointless rushing it. So, for example, all inside there, that could be sticking on the shaft. I don't want to bend it off and snap that, so be patient. That's the crux. Be patient. Put loads of this stuff in there. Give it a good old soak. Leave it to cook overnight, shall we? So sometime later, I let it soak, but I realised that these bolts that came through the bottom were dry as a bone, and they're basically in the alloy are just corroded up, furred up. So fortunately you can get to the back of them, so I took them out, and now the whole thing is free to be removed. So if I take it off, this is what we see. A bit mucky inside there, to be expected. So this is our big end bearing here. I can see that there's a bit of play in it, but not much play. So not the big, yeah, this is it's the big end bearing, little end up there. These are the mains here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little split pin out and take this out. Probably use a rattle gun just to undo that. Make sure it's yes, make sure it's the correct thread, a right hand thread. Take that off and see what the bearing's like inside. Right, I'm just going to attempt to take this off now. Gonna just check this socket is the right size. It is the right size. So I'm going to use this rattle gun. Hopefully, straight away it's off. Doesn't seem to be. I think it was on that tight, to be honest. Right. This is the bit where I'm expecting some kind of bearing to fall out, so And there you have it, look at that. There is the big end bearing, basically a bunch of rollers which all fall out like that. It's quite something, isn't it, that? So, another little shim that comes off there like that. So I just now need to put this in a safe place. And I guess the next bit, that's the big end bearing, the big end pin. All very nice, all very good. So I'm going to put all this in a safe place, and then I'm going to turn the whole thing around and tackle the other end after I've cleaned up a bit. So I've spun it around. I did notice just here actually, it's got the engine number stamped on both sides of the casting, 4802, which is quite interesting if you're into that sort of thing. But anyway, this end, this is actually a big drive wheel. You have a pulley which operates at 90 degree, or like a wheel with a rubber tyre, but it's not rubber, it's a leather tyre that presses against that, and that wheel moves in and out to change the ratio. It's a sort of variable ratio gearbox, I suppose. Anyway, we need to get this off, and it's got lots of big screws that look like they've not been undone for a long time. But if I undo all these screws and take this plate off, then I'm not going to get it off here, so I've got to undo this. And it looks like this has got two little collets inside here. Actually no, one collet. So I'm going to have to somehow push this thing in and release this collet off what looks like to be not a keyway, a groove. That's the word I'm looking for, a groove in the end. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that, so I'm going to stop now and I'm going to think about it and start the video when I've actually come up with an idea. So I've got a plan. What I'm going to try and do is push this ring back that way. Now the spring's not very strong, so I'm just going to use, goes round clockwise, just going to use this screwdriver and just tap this like this. Seems to be coming. It's one of these jobs where you need about 3 hands. That's going to come off there, that's going to come off there, they come off there like that. That's it. So this now comes off. That wasn't very hard, was it? So that's exactly what I thought it would be, just a groove. Couldn't think of the word. I can see there's some threads there, I think. So this has got a big big slot in it for a tool to unscrew that, no doubt, although I have no idea what's going on in there. So the next step is going to be try and get these undone. So I think the first things first is that I'm going to have to clean all these slots out. I really don't want to start trying to, you know, work on these, and I don't want to start knacking them. And that's going to be tricky. If I damage these screws, then I am literally screwed. Got these little grooves which seem to indicate how it should line up, but some of them don't. That doesn't. Anyway, that's going to be the next step. I think I'm going to spend a bit of time. I won't bore you with that. I'm going to spend a bit of time cleaning these out and seeing if I can get them to budge. So fortunately, all of these outside ones came off just by sticking a screwdriver and turning. These middle ones were stiff, and I just used an impact driver with a decent bit that fitted it, and they loosened off. So what I'm going to do now is take it off and see what we find out. I might have to speed this bit up. So that's all the screws off. What I'm just going to do is going to reach over and get the blade, and I'm going to just put a blade in there. It's freeing off. It's not freeing off on the inside of there. It's still tight on that middle bit. It's coming off here. Not quite sure how I'm going to get that off, so I think I might stop here and pause and have a think. So I've got a plan. I've basically put these little spaces in, which lifts the outer circumference proud of these dowel pins here. And because it seems to be seized on this inner circumference, what we're going to try and do is put the punch in there and very carefully tap it sideways, and ideally I'm going to rotate it round and possibly, hopefully, free up this join here. So that's the plan anyway. And eureka, it worked. That's good. That's a relief, isn't it? So that's taken off the flywheel. So we're starting to get a clue as to what is going on inside there. Going to be some kind of cam in there that's got to open and close the points. If we swing this round here, inside here are the points, and they're meant to open and close, but they're not opening and closing, so something's going wrong in there. Anyway, that's all for now. Next step is to work out what to take off next, so I'll be back. So the puzzle continues. The next step is, I think, to try and get the flywheel off, and this little collar here, threaded collar, holds the flywheel on. I've got this tool here, and when I basically just rested this on here, I found, oh, it's actually loose. I was thinking I was going to have to smash that with a hammer, but obviously I haven't had to do that. Good thing about the kickstart is that when you try and start it, automatically tightens this thing up. So when I undo that, I can now see inside here, there's a keyway just there. So I've got to pull this off somehow. I don't know quite how I'm going to do that yet. I'm going to have to rig up some kind of puller to pull it off. Not quite sure whether I want to start pulling on this metal plate here. I might damage it. I've got to rig up some kind of puller to pull the whole thing off. Again, I'm going to have to think about that. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it. So I've stared at this for a while, and I've squirted some penetrating fluid down there, but basically I need to make some kind of puller to pull this thing on, and the only thing I can bolt it to is these five bolts. I think there's probably 1/4 inch BSF. I need to check. So I'm gonna stop this episode here now, and the next one is all going to be all about making this puller to pull this flywheel off. Obviously, I can't afford to damage the flywheel or the threads or anything, because, well, it's made out of pure unobtainium. So that's all for now, I think. Until next time.